Welcome to NMDP Black Blood Hills. NMDP operates the National Registry of Blood Stem Cell Donors. Tune in as I share tools and resources on ways you can be a change agent and save a life in your community. Welcome to Black Blood Hills. I'm your host, Tamara Weston, and today I am joined by Alicia Johnson, who is the mother of two sons who suffered from severe combined immunodeficiency, also known as SCID. And I am super excited that I was able to say that in one shot. So from moving forward, I'm going to let Alicia talk about that. But before we get to her, we're also going to hear about her story and how SCID has impacted not only her, but her family, and particularly the male members of her family. Hey, Alicia, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I just wanted to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here to share my story.
I thank you for coming out just for the story to share. I think as you get into it, the audience will understand what you and your family have gone through, and I know it's no easy feat. So I'm thankful that you're here to even share it with us.
Yes, thank you.
How are you feeling otherwise?
I am feeling well. I am excited to be able to share their journey with everyone. I'm excited to let you guys know how they're doing, how they're keeping me busy, keeping me on my toes.
As toddlers should do.
As they should. You are absolutely correct.
But before we get to Cairo and Kylo, tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I am a operational program director. So I oversee a couple of group homes for vulnerable adults. Mm-hmm. So being in the field and being able to give back, I enjoy it. I love my job. So being able to help others is definitely something I would continue to do.
Well, I think what you do is great. I know that it's a lot. So doing that and raising two young sons, I'm sure your time is pretty busy.
It is. It can be. I'm definitely always occupied with something, some activity.
Well, I always say it's better to be busy than bored.
Exactly. I would never want to be bored. I wouldn't know what to do with myself.
Okay. Well, with that being said, tell us about those two bundle of joys that keep you busy.
So, Cairo, he is now 5. He was diagnosed when he was born, so it came out on his newborn screening.
Diagnosed with?
He was diagnosed with SCID, so severe combined immunodeficiency.
You said that much better than I did.
Once you say it, a time or two, you'll get used to it.
Okay.
And then also Kylo, born with SCID as well, found a little bit earlier than his newborn screening, so I was able to better prepare for when he was born.
Well, tell us, what is SCID?
So SCID is a blood disorder that lands on an X chromosome. So we all know that men have one X chromosome and a Y. So when it falls on the X chromosome, men are not able to just produce it, unlike women can. So then at that point, they would need a blood stem cell transplant to help rebuild those cells.
And how does SCID affect the body?
So SCID affects the body by basically what it does, it makes you not have an immune system. So if anyone has heard of like the Bubble Boy movie where they're in this bubble, they have to be protected so they can't get sick. So it's something similar to that. That's how I try to explain it for people who are not fully aware of what SCID is.
So if Cairo or Kylo were to get sick, it would be difficult for their body to fight that illness.
That is correct.
Got you. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And sometimes it can lead to more life-threatening things if not treated properly in the correct time frame, should I say.
Got you. And both Cairo and Kylo had SCID.
That is correct.
Got you. Well, when you think about SCID, did you know about that before they were born, or?
So what I knew about SCID was very vague. I knew that my brother had SCID, but we didn't think too much of it. We thought it was maybe just a one kid and done type of situation. And then my sister finally had her son. And she was notified, I want to say a week or two after he was born, that he also was a carrier for SCID. And so that was what triggered the, hey, make sure you tell your other relatives or your sisters or your brothers to be on the lookout if they do, proceed to have children, to be aware to look on the newborn screening for SCID, because it may skip or it may pass down.
Okay. So your brother was affected, your nephew was affected, and then both your sons were affected.
That is correct.
So it's running through your family.
That is correct.
Okay.
So in my family, I am a SCID carrier. So it leads from my mother. So my mom, my sister, and I are all carriers for SCID. So what we did was some genetic testing to see if we were carriers. I know my younger brother, but older than the youngest one, he was not affected, so it skipped him. Yep. So there's always this 50-50 chance that a male could get it or could not.
Okay.
So it just depends. So one of my brother was able to donate to my younger brother.
Okay.
And
okay.
So that was how they did things. So that was quite nice.
Okay. Well, when it was discovered that Cairo had SCID, what did they talk about doing?
So when Cairo was diagnosed with SCID, he was 11 days old. So we were at home.
Wow.
And they told me that we needed to go back to the hospital instantly, and they would put us in a clean room.
Okay.
So basically a clean room is like, you can't have flowers. You can't have a lot of things. It was strictly just, their stuff, really no visitors. And then they came in, they cleaned the room. The air was purified. So it was a very four-wall clean type of environment.
And then did they talk to you about options? What could be done?
Yeah. So at that time, they talked to us about looking for a donor to be his, person.
A blood stem cell donor?
That is correct. A blood stem cell donor. So they offered for, the parents to be options as well if they couldn't find someone to be a donor. But they did eventually find someone. It took a little time, but they found someone.
Okay. And then when you were pregnant with Kylo, did you test him before he was born, or did you know?
No. So when I was pregnant with Cairo, they did offer the testing, but it's basically a test where they'll poke your stomach, through the fluid, poke the baby. And I'm like, well, that's a bit much if the outcome is still going to be what the outcome is when the baby comes. So I waited until birth and then had them look on the newborn screen. Okay. And that was quicker. With Kylo, they actually were checking for cells prior to the newborn screening coming out to see if all the cells were where they needed to be. And that was how they noticed that the cells were not where they needed to be, and they were able to catch it quicker than they did with Cairo.
So when Kylo was born and he was diagnosed with SCID, was it immediately recommended that he also have a blood stem cell transplant?
Yes.
Okay.
So the way they wanted us to do it was a little different than how they did Cairo. So Cairo went into the hospital, into the clean room right away. Kylo, on the other hand, we were able to stay home until they were able to locate a donor.
Okay.
So at that time, we stayed home, and then once they were closer to finding someone, that is when they had us enter the hospital.
Finding a matching blood stem cell donor.
Correct. That is correct.
Got you. I've said it on the show before. There's the one thing that I love about hosting is I learned so much. I've never heard of SCID. There are so many blood diseases that you can have a conversation every day of the year and talk about something. Not saying that there's 365 blood diseases, but you can have a conversation and just like we're having now, I've learned now that there's a disease that affects the male, that could affect the male men based because it's on the X chromosome.
Yes.
Not saying that it won't affect women, but within your family, it's affected the men.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how that, and then, it can affect women.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that would be if mom and dad of the female were both carriers.
Got it.
So that would the only time it would catch a female candidate for being having the need to have a blood stem cell transplant.
So just so the audience understands, if and when
Mm-hmm.
Cairo gets married and has children,
Yep.
if his wife is also a carrier,
Mm-hmm.
then the possibility of their daughter
Mm-hmm.
having SCID is there.
Yes,
Gotcha.
it is.
Okay. Wow, I love it. I love learning new things. Okay. Well, when we talk about how this has impacted you as a caregiver and as a mom, tell me about your journey as caring for two young toddlers. Cairo is 5.
Mm-hmm.
Kylo is 3. 2. So, but when Cairo had his transplant,
Mm-hmm.
he was
About 3 months.
wow.
I think it was about 3 months. Yeah.
Okay.
So very young.
Mm-hmm.
So they try to get it in quick.
And then you had Kylo, who had to go through the same thing. So you have a toddler, and now you have a baby,
Mm-hmm.
and both of them you have to give love, care, and attention.
Yep. So it's definitely shared. So in the beginning, with Cairo being a big brother to Kylo, and having to fulfill the needs of Kylo having medical cares.
Mm-hmm.
So when he was discharged, he still had a port, some
Mm-hmm.
people call it, or a CVC tunnel, but he had medical lines that needed to be flushed, or for feedings or things as such. So still making sure to take care of those necessities of needs for Kylo, but then also still attending to Cairo so that he doesn't feel neglected. It's a lot. And then being home full time it can be stressful at times, and it can also be frustrating and overwhelming.
How were you impacted?
I can say in the beginning with Cairo, I was impacted mentally. It was exhausting. And when Cairo was born, or when he was going through his transplant time, COVID happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent a lot of time at the hospital by myself. So Cairo was in the hospital for 6 months, 3 days. I won't forget it because I was so excited to just go home. And it wasn't even the fact that I could go to the store, we can go to outings. I was excited to be home with family. Because being there with the COVID stipulations, it was just me and Cairo and the nurses.
And that was a time when the hospitals only allowed one
That is
person in at a time or per day.
Yeah. Yeah, it was rough. There were definitely some crying nights, but I got through it. FaceTime, video calls, phone calls. There were a lot of them. Yeah.
Well, fast forward to today. How are Cairo and Kylo doing?
The boys are doing well. They keep me busy. There's always something new to learn with their conversations.
Are they the typical big brother, little brother? Little brother is always picking on the big brother, and big brother wishes little brother would go away.
Yes, they are the typical big brother, little brother duo. And you can't find another pair.
When you look at them and you see them thriving, what runs through your heart?
I am grateful. I'm happy to be, I want to say normal is really the only word that you can use, because normal is them being able to go to school, them being able to go to the community and have fun with other children, them being able to go to family gatherings and, you know, do the everyday stuff that we would take for granted if, you know, we had a child who was in the hospital or a child who, you know, needed so many cares. I'm grateful. I'm appreciative. I am ecstatic to be able to live, I want to say, normal life.
When you think about what they've gone through the journey, and now by God's grace, they'll be able to grow and just enjoy normalcy, as you say. What is your wish for them as they grow?
I just wish for them to be happy, as, you know, as much as possible. And I hope that they grow healthy. And then also, my own personal selfish wishes, I hope that maybe they would feel the same and be able to give back in other ways, like someone have given to them the opportunity to grow and be healthy.
It sounds like that you have had an amazing support system, both internally with your family and externally with NMDP. Can you share any of the resources that NMDP might have offered you or helped you receive?
So recently we were able to, we were hosted at a basketball game. We got to go see the Timberwolves play.
Okay.
And Naz Reid was the one who hosted us.
Yes.
So I was grateful for the opportunity. We got to take pictures. And then we got a signed jersey, and then we got to watch them play. And they actually won the game that we were watching. So it was quite nice, and the boys had a lovely time. It was really nice. Yes.
Who gravitated to Naz Reid? Who's the future basketball player, Kylo or Cairo?
I think it's going to be Kylo. Cairo is a little different, and that's okay. He'll be my computer whiz and, you know, helping me get my computer together. But my sports kid will be Kylo. So I'm ready for it.
And you already see this?
Yes, I see it.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, then Mama has spoken. Mama has spoken.
Yes.
I mean, again, as we wind down, I'm in awe of you. You know, I think it takes a lot to just live every day and take care of children.
Yes.
But then when you add in a child that might be sick or, you know, needs health support, it is, you're right. It takes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I thank you for sharing your story. I thank you for coming here.
Yes.
I thank you for walking me through SCID again. I love learning that. And I just hope and pray that Cairo and Kylo continue to thrive.
Yes.
And grow and enjoy life and be happy.
Yes.
And I wish the same for you.
Thank you.
I believe that sometimes we have to take a moment to breathe so that we can help others.
Right. Exactly. Absolutely.
Wow. Well, with that being said, we're going to end here. Miss Johnson, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Please give my regards to those little two bundle of men that you have.
I will.
To my audience, thank you for joining us. If you want to learn more about NMDP, if you want to learn more about our resources, please head over to www.nmdp.org. And until next time, it will take all of us to save one of us.